Hello Raptors fans and welcome to Raptors Report. With the first half of the season coming to a close, I wanted to look over the 4 best and worst games so far this season. Unfortunately, putting all 8 games into one video made it way too long, so this is part 1 of 2. So prepare yourself as we jump in and take a look at the top 4 best and worst games of the first half of the season. We're going to start off the video today by looking at the worst win of the season, which is a bit counterintuitive because a win is a win, right? Well, this game on December the 9th versus the Bulls certainly challenged that old aphorism, because this game absolutely sucked. The first half was relatively entertaining, featuring some fun plays for both teams. The score was pretty close, and the Bulls and Raptors looked like 2 NBA teams playing a normal basketball game. Then the second half happened. The third and fourth quarters were an absolute slog, with both teams bricking open threes, layups, mid-range shots. You name it, the Bulls and Raptors missed it. Midway through the fourth, the score froze in place as both teams took turns looking absolutely hopeless on the offensive end. Denzel Valentine had this cringeworthy sequence, shooting 2 no-hesitation threes in quick succession and bricking them both, leading to the Raptors pushing the ball, getting it into Serge Ibaka in the post, who then gets his weak shot attempt blasted into the stands by Daniel Gafford. The fun didn't stop there. After Lowry failed to convert on the short shot clock, the Bulls returned the favor by dribbling the ball for 22 seconds and then hoisting up a no-chance three-point attempt, in which Bulls guard Kobe White committed an offensive foul by kicking his leg out while shooting the ball. Then it was the Raptors' turn, and they even managed to get a decent look by using Kyle Lowry as the ball screener with Siakam as the ball handler. But he couldn't get the shot to drop, and Serge Ibaka couldn't convert on the putback either. This let the Bulls get into a fast break, but then they threw the ball away. This game was terrible. And while I do enjoy a good defensive battle, watching the Raptors struggle against a bad Bulls team is not my cup of tea. It isn't like they were smothering each other with impenetrable defense. Both teams were committing unforced turnovers and just missing open shots. And both teams were chaining bad possession after bad possession, even missing over and over again after getting offensive rebounds, like the Raptors did here in this cursed sequence. In the end, the Raptors ended up out-veteraning the young and hapless Bulls, and did just enough scoring to get the lead. The Bulls did have a number of opportunities to win the game, but Marc Gasol came up with 2 absolutely stellar defensive possessions to close out the game. But I think we should probably burn the tapes anyway, just to be on the safe side. For the next game on our list, we have the best loss of the season. I know that moral victories and silver linings aren't the most appealing things for fans, because at the end of the day, losses still count on the wrong side of the ledger, no matter how good they made you feel. But in the case of the November 11th game versus the Clippers, I think an exception should be made. Not only was the entire game quite exciting, with lots of back and forth action and standout performances, this was also the first opportunity the Raptors had to play against departed superstar Kawhi Leonard. And the Raptors held Leonard to 2 of 11 shooting to go with 9 turnovers, easily one of his worst performances in his entire career. Rondae Hollis-Jefferson in particular did an excellent job staying in front of, harassing, and stealing the ball from Kawhi, like he did here, resulting in a sweet fast break dunk. On top of Kawhi's futility, Chris Boucher had a number of highlight reel plays, none more spectacular than his soul-stealing block on Montrezl Harrell in the fourth quarter. Good lord, that was disgusting.
Guess you won't be needing those tapes I made for you. You want me to get rid of them?
Don't be hasty. Not until I see
Montrezl Harrell
pummeled to dust, which should be any moment now. Yes! Yes!
Unfortunately, the rest of the game slipped away from the Raptors, as they had a difficult time scoring against the Clippers' stingy defense in the fourth quarter. And Kawhi and Montrezl Harrell snapped out of their funks at just the wrong time to put the game away for the Clippers. Still, with all the Raptors' injuries, playing on the second night of a back-to-back, and not getting embarrassed by Kawhi, this is definitely the least painful Raptors loss so far. And now we're going to cover what I believe to be the third worst loss of the season to date. It's no secret that the San Antonio Spurs haven't been very good this season, so it wasn't very surprising when they were down big time to the Raptors in Toronto, who were putting the pedal to the metal and running up the score in the third quarter in what looked like a runaway victory for the home squad. The Raptors were getting production from everyone, and the tone of the game was fun and upbeat. Until this happened. DeMar delivered one of the dunks of the season, absolutely baptizing Chris Boucher, and while Chris got some semblance of revenge the following play, the Spurs discovered that they could just run down the floor and dunk the ball over and over again, and the Raptors weren't going to do anything to stop them. And speaking of dunks by former Raptors, there was also this absolutely disgusting dunk by Rudy Gay as well. These dunks seemed to energize the Spurs, and also completely demoralize the Raptors. After Patty Mills hit a 3 to cut the game to 1, the Spurs went on a sustained scoring streak while the Raptors went ice cold. Just like that, a 17-point lead turned into a 9-point deficit. To the Raptors' credit, they did manage to snap out of the slump late in the fourth and put together a 9-0 run of their own, capped by Serge Ibaka nailing a pretty sweet 3 to knot things at 100. A few possessions later, with the Raptors up 1, their strategy of leaving Marco Bellinelli wide open on the three-point arc backfired, but all was not lost as the Raptors still had an opportunity to tie the game. Pascal Siakam blew the layup, and while LaMarcus Aldridge missed a pivotal free throw at the end of the game, the Raptors didn't have any timeouts left and proceeded to launch a no-hoper at the buzzer.
Disgusting!
But let's not get down in the doldrums just yet. Now we're going to look at the third best game of the season. I don't know if many people had high hopes for the Raptors when they rolled into Boston on December the 28th. Half of the starting lineup was injured, and the Raptors had just come off a nationally televised Christmas game versus the Celtics, where they lost by double digits and looked absolutely horrible. The Celtics, it appeared, were on a roll, in second place in the conference, and looked ready to pounce on the downtrodden Raptors. But what the Raptors did have was Kyle M.F. Lowry, who put on an absolute clinic this game as the Raptors hopped ahead to an early lead. The full Kyle Lowry package was on display, passing, shooting, flopping, the whole bag of tricks, and the Raptors dropped 36 on the Celtics in the opening frame. One has to wonder what was running through Coach Brad Stevens' mind at that point. The only thing that seemed to be keeping the Celtics in the game at all were ridiculous end-of-quarter three-point heaves, and they managed to hit not just one, but two of them. But to credit the Celtics, they managed to bounce back from their dreadful first quarter and narrow the lead somewhat in the third, which obviously put a bit of a scare into Raptors fans, who at this point were conditioned to fear any sort of double-digit lead. Thankfully, the Raptors weren't going to roll over and die in this one, as Fred VanVleet started heating up from 3. The Celtics managed one last run to cut the lead down to 5, but after that, the Raptors just ran away with the game. VanVleet, Lowry, Serge Ibaka, and even energy reserve player O'Shea Brissett chipped in offensively, while the defense shut the Celtics down cold. With all the injuries the Raptors had suffered in December, and the victory coming against a surging Celtics team in their building, this was definitely an incredibly entertaining game, and my pick for the third best game of the season. And that's the first installment of the best of the first half. Stay tuned next week for the second installment, which will highlight the top 2 best and worst games so far. If you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing and leave a like on the video to help the channel out. Check out my Twitter at Raptors Report for more Raptors and NBA content. Thanks for tuning in to Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.